Is full inclusion the best choice for all students? Full inclusion has become a controversial topic among educators today. To understand why, let's start with the definition of full inclusion. The Wisconsin Education Association Council defines full inclusion as all students, regardless of handicapping condition or severity, will be in a regular classroom or program setting full time. This means all services or accommodations are to be brought to or administered in that classroom setting. Advocates for full inclusion believe this is the best setting for students with disabilities, and it allows them to have interactions with non-disabled peers. Those who oppose full inclusion argue that the students' needs cannot adequately be met in a full inclusion setting. Some benefits offered by full inclusion includes students with disabilities having full interaction with non-disabled peers. Advocates for full inclusion argue this interaction amongst the students benefits both non-disabled and disabled students. Advocates claim non-disabled students will motivate and encourage disabled peers to work harder to achieve higher learning gains. The interactions with disabled peers will promote acceptance and understanding among the non-disabled students. In the article, Impacts of Inclusion Education on Academic Achievement, Student Behavior, Self-Esteem, and Parental Attitudes, authors Larry Daniel and Deborah King state, supporters stress the inclusion environment more appropriately reflects mainstream society and establishes a supportive, humane atmosphere for all students. Another benefit to full inclusion is that it is cost-effective to fully include students with disabilities in schools. Full inclusion cuts the cost of employing special education teachers. It reduces funds needed for busing students with disabilities to other schools within the county that would typically serve students with that specific disability. Those who oppose full inclusion believe full inclusion is a disservice to students with disabilities. Under full inclusion, students with disabilities would be unable to receive the individualized education they get in resource and self-contained classrooms. With full inclusion, students with disabilities would no longer be able to have small class sizes or receive as much one-to-one instruction as with a resource or self-contained classroom, argues those against full inclusion. One of the biggest arguments for those who oppose full inclusion is it would be highly taxing on the teacher to meet the needs of all students in the classroom. In the article, An Outsider Looking In, Total Inclusion and the Concept of Equifinality, the authors discuss the other main argument by those who oppose full inclusion. They state, total inclusion of disabled students, regardless of the severity of their disability, into a regular classroom is like treating cancer patients by general practitioners at their own offices without the special equipment needed. To summarize this, students with disabilities need specialized instruction that cannot always be met in full inclusion classrooms. I believe full inclusion is not the best answer for all students. I have worked in an elementary school for 8 years. 5 of those years have been spent in a self-contained special education classroom for varying exceptionalities. About 3 years ago, my school attempted to move toward full inclusion like the rest of the state was being pushed to do. I witnessed firsthand both the positive and the negative effects full inclusion had on all students. The negative outweighed the positive for the most part. Many of my students began to fall behind because they were unable to keep up with the curriculum. Also, behavior became an issue for some who felt like they lost control and had no clue academically what was going on. For our teachers, it was very stressful to attempt to meet the needs of such a diverse class. I believe the least restrictive environment is the best setting for any student. This means students are placed in the classroom setting that best suits his or her individual needs.